All right, today we're diving into a guide for anyone looking to invest in our wild new world of technology. We're using ARK Invest's Big Ideas 2026 report as our map, because let's face it, the stakes are getting higher and the old investment rules, well, they might not apply anymore. Let's get into it.
So let's start with the big question that really sets the stage for everything we're about to talk about. In an era where technology is growing exponentially, are the classic rules of investing, the ones we've relied on for decades, becoming obsolete? The answer to this could totally change how you think about creating value from here on out. To get our heads around that, we're going to break this down into 5 parts. First, we'll explore this new investment frontier. Then, we'll get a handle on what step function growth actually is. After that, we'll see how AI is speeding everything up, then face the new kinds of risks this all creates, and finally, we'll talk about how to actually navigate this future.
Okay, first up, a new investment frontier. We're moving beyond a world of just small, predictable improvements. This is about a massive, fundamental shift in the very engine of our economy.
You see, the really big idea here is convergence. We're not just seeing progress in AI or robotics or energy storage as separate things anymore. No, these technologies are now starting to talk to each other, to feed into each other. They're creating a kind of chain reaction that's completely transforming markets and opening up opportunities that honestly felt like pure science fiction just a few years back.
So, if growth isn't slow and steady anymore, how do we even think about it? Well, that brings us to a super important concept, the difference between that traditional incremental growth and what this report calls step function growth.
Think about it like this. On one hand, you've got incremental growth. It's like climbing a staircase, right? Slow, steady, one predictable step at a time. That's your mature industries. But on the other hand, you have these sudden massive leaps forward. That's step function growth. It's more like a rocket launch. For example, robotics going from a single task arm in a factory to a general purpose robot that can learn on its own, that's not a small step. That's a whole new staircase. It completely redefines the market.
And what's really crucial to get here is that step function change is a totally new framework for thinking. We're not just moving a little bit further up the same old progress curve, we're literally jumping to a brand new curve, one with a much, much higher ceiling for growth and disruption.
So, what's the engine powering these massive leaps? 9 times out of 10, it's artificial intelligence. Let's take a look at how AI is acting as the great accelerator for pretty much all of these other technologies.
Just look at this web of what the report calls big ideas. You can immediately see the power of that convergence we were talking about. See how they're all connected? And what's sitting right there in the middle, acting like a central hub? It's AI. It's the catalyst, the thing that makes a breakthrough over here spark an innovation way over there. It's like the connective tissue for this whole technological revolution.
Let's make this real. In robotics, AI is crushing the cost of teaching a robot what to do, which means automation is suddenly available to way more industries. In energy, the absolutely massive power demands from AI data centers are forcing us to get better and faster at battery storage. For logistics, AI is the brain that makes self-driving trucks and delivery drones safer and way more efficient. It even connects to reusable rockets, which might one day launch AI data centers into space. You see, AI isn't just one big idea, it's the idea that supercharges all the others.
Okay, so with all this massive opportunity, there has to be a catch, right? And there is. To be a smart investor in this space, you have got to understand the new landscape of risk. This is a huge reality check.
This is where you can really see the old world bumping up against the new. Traditionally, investors worried about things like market downturns or interest rates, but in the world of disruptive innovation, the risks look totally different. You're dealing with a blistering pace of change, brand new regulatory hurdles because governments are struggling to keep up, and intense political pressure from old-school industries trying to protect their territory.
So let's dig into these a little deeper. We're talking about deep uncertainty, regulatory roadblocks that can literally pop up overnight, and all sorts of political or legal pressures. Understanding these specific risks isn't just a good idea, it's not an option. It has to be at the very core of your analysis. It's all about being educated on the unique challenges out here on the frontier.
So how on earth do you deal with this new class of risk? Look, you can't just stick your head in the sand and pretend these risks don't exist. That's impossible. It's about navigating it intelligently. So let's get to the solution: diversification. The strategy here really boils down to 2 simple steps. First, you have to do your homework. That means digging deep and analyzing all those risks we just mentioned, from regulatory issues down to company-specific ones. And second, you have to think bigger.
You've got to look across different sectors to see how all these technologies connect. That big picture view is everything. And this, right here, is the biggest takeaway from managing risk. Since we know all these technologies are converging and influencing each other, the key strategy is to diversify your investments across them. A portfolio that includes robotics, energy storage, and AI isn't just 3 separate bets. It's a strategic position in the entire innovation ecosystem. And that's what helps protect you if one single area hits a snag.
And that brings us to this really powerful final thought. The future doesn't just show up one day out of the blue. It's a process. And by understanding these huge step function changes, the central role of AI, and this new world of risk, you're in a much better position to see that future as it's actually happening. So the question this leaves us with is, are you ready to own what's next?